My name is Justy. I'm a jazz hop artist from Staten Island, New York. I've been doing this seriously probably for the past 3 years. Just being honest, I was at a point where I had just gotten dumped and we went into lockdown, right? So there was no escape for me. I had to face myself and face a lot of my demons. You know, after getting dumped, I isolated myself and I retreated within myself, and you know, I got into a very self-sabotaging spot and place physically, and just, you know, drinking and sort of letting myself go, and mentally, and just, you know, not wanting to exist in this space. And when I began writing, for me, it felt so disingenuous to try to even write about anything other than what I was going through. And in a way, writing like this and being this vulnerable saved me, because I knew there was no way to write around it. I had to go through it and not over it. And that was so important for me in crafting a body of work. Because if it impacted me and it could save me like this, I knew just someone else knowing that, yes, you're going through this as well, I knew that that could impact and save them as well. I think with Pain with Benefits, I was able to step outside of myself and understand life and understand how my life at least has sort of flowed. And I realized that oftentimes, you know, unfortunately or just ironically, a lot of your biggest blessings come from pain. They come from this balance between really good stuff happening and really bad stuff happening. And when I was finally able to recognize that, I think I was slowly coming out of my isolation. And it was like, I could take all of these really awful things that happened and turn it into something beautiful. And that was so important to me, because I think in a way I didn't want the situations I was in or the people who put me in those situations to win, in a way. Like, in a way, this was my way of winning, not for anyone else, but for myself. The reason why I'm referencing sort of this loop of pain in I'm Learning How to Live Again is because I did think about Amy Winehouse's album Back to Black. And I remember watching a documentary about her and them discussing basically how a lot of her pain was sort of continuous because she had to keep performing this material that was rooted in so much pain, right? So it's like she kind of had to go back to it each and every time. And this particular album was her biggest blessing, right? So Pain with Benefits, it doesn't just relate to my personal life, it is my personal life. You know, like, people will hear and can hear in the music that this is stuff I actually personally went through. And some of it is embarrassing, some of it is empowering, some of it is sad or disheartening, but it is authentic. Well, I think the cool thing is, no pun intended, but I think the cool thing is that oftentimes a lot of meaning can be overlaid in these really kind of up, happy, vibey beats, right? So I think of something like Pumped Up Kicks by Foster the People. You know, the song is just good and it's groovy and it sounds good or whatever, but you know, a lot of it it's like a deep, kind of dark, sinister song, right? So in the Get Out and Cool, even though the beats are sort of faster pace and like good tempo, you know, vibey, whatever it may be, it was important for me to get across the main point, which is like, your pain can be hidden underneath a facade. Your pain can be hidden underneath something that is outwardly obvious. So for me, even, you know, just being here, smiling, existing, doing what I have to do, should be doing, etc. I'm still going through pain, and that's how, you know, a majority of this writing process was for me. I had been in isolation, right? I had been going through things, but I could show up and put on a good face. So in a way, the music sonically literally takes that on, which is super cool. So Letting Loose and Last Love Letter kind of represented like healing for me in a sense. Last Love Letter talks about heartbreak in a political sense, but even more so, it's kind of like speaking to the overall ending of something, right? The ending of a union, right? The ending of what you once believed in, right? And I think that falls into politics and into a personal relationship, right? It's kind of like a lot of stuff was going on in the media and in the world at the time where I was kind of just like, I've lost faith in many different elements, and at the same time, I lost faith in love, you know, like everyone who loved me hurt me, or claimed to love me hurt me. So just associating love with pain was, it was something that needed to be dissected for myself, because that's how it felt. So if love always brought pain, there was really no point in choosing love, right? Because it was something that hurt. I think with Letting Loose, once I got to that point of understanding that, you know, love is pain, or feeling like love is pain, to me, I kind of got into a space of, I need to emancipate myself then, because if all these things that are supposed to feel good hurt me, I really just have myself. Like, I really just have to let myself free, let myself loose. And that's what Letting Loose is about, you know. It's more than just sort of like a jab. It's a lot of it is just like, you know, let yourself free yourself. And it's a selfish song, right? And that was needed. It's all about being selfish. It's all about upping yourself and bigging yourself up, because you know no one else is gonna do it. I'm writing from a very marginalized perspective and identity. I think just being a queer woman of color and being in my community and going through some of these pains, I remember writing, there's so many expectations that people have of you. And especially I think as a Black woman, this expectation to be strong all the time and to kind of just carry things with you is so heavy and prevalent. And if you add on being queer to that and speaking on those experiences, I think one can see a unique view of how that mounting pressure really lives within people. So for me, this is an album that finally sort of shines light on that, and shines light on the fact that there are a lot of things we take in that end up actually dismantling us in a way. And that is the sort of pain aspect of it, where it's like you have to go through all these things, and in a way you normalize going through pain because you feel like in order to deserve anything good, you have to go through pain. You can't just deserve good things, right? Everything has to come at a price. And I think that's a really unique part of my project. I think the hardest song to write and record was Sister Sister. I actually have two, actually. I think it would probably be between Sister Sister and Hopelessly, both of which kind of deal with embarrassment. I've never written about embarrassment before. As funny as it is, I never wrote about being humiliated, and I was at a spot where I was humiliated, right? So, you know, Hopelessly chronicles my breakup and, you know, how I'm sort of in the city and I'm walking back to the subway and I'm crying and I probably look crazy to the passerbys, but, you know, the emotion is so raw and it was just happening and I couldn't control it, and I didn't have any control in that situation. So it was just pure embarrassment, really, and just feeling hopeless, feeling pathetic, feeling all these different emotions. And Sister Sister similarly notes embarrassment and betrayal, which is something I also really haven't spoken about or written about in my other music. And that one is raw just off of the fact that I'm writing about a friendship breakup. I'm writing about losing someone, not only to my ex, but losing someone who felt like a sister to me, like a family to me. So for me, those two are just so raw. And for a listener who listens to music like myself, when you hear those lyrics, especially in Sister Sister, you hear the pain, you hear the loss as I'm going through the track. So those are emotionally gutting to me, and I probably will never perform those live, just because I don't even know how that's about to, mess up my whole equilibrium. The thing is, I know people are hearing this album and are going to feel the authenticity of this album, which is such a blessing to me, because this is me writing openly and candidly without any restraints. I feel like when I started my artistic journey, I would have a bit of reservation about the things I would discuss because I would worry about different factors. With this album, I didn't care what I was writing or what truths would be revealed or, how I would look, whether it be, looking pathetic, looking selfish, looking, whatever, right? I just had to write, and I had to write honestly from all perspectives, not just from the perspective of me, but the perspective of someone else, right? How I've hurt others and how I've been hurt. I want my listeners to know and understand that I will go through pain in order to give birth to something that has meat and that has life and that is deep. And on a personal level, I just want people to see, like, I'm just like you, like I struggle, I go through hardships, and I'd oftentimes feel very misunderstood. So I'm here for my music, and my music saves me in so many different ways. And this album did the same. This album saved me. Pain with Benefits is an album about my, unique experience, but I hope it speaks to people as a whole, and I hope people see, and hear my music. I'm not just a regular artist out here. Like I got a story to tell, and I'm telling it wholly and truthfully. And I hope for myself that with this project being out, there's closure for me, and there's a closing of a chapter at least, because I want to get to the point in life where it doesn't always feel like pain has to precede happiness. However, if that is the case for the rest of life, understand that the benefits that you reap from pain are necessary in the whole cycle of things. In the good and the evil, in the highs and the lows, everything mellows out. So that's what it's about, and that's why it was necessary to do this album. And yeah, Pain with Benefits, it's my story, or at least the start of it, so. You got